If you close your eyes and imagine the most terrifying insect you know of or have heard of, there's a good chance you'll picture something like a giant spider, or maybe a massive scorpion. But what if I told you that the insects of the prehistoric world were so enormous and frightening that they make even these nightmarish creatures look like harmless bugs in comparison? We're talking about a time when dragonflies were the size of eagles, millipedes as long as cars, and scorpions that could look you straight in the eye. These weren't just big bugs, they were the stuff of nightmares, apex predators in a world where insects ruled the skies and dominated the land. Let's start our journey about 350 million years ago, in a period known as the Carboniferous. This was a time when the Earth was covered in vast, steamy swamp forests. The air was thick with oxygen, much more than we have today, and this supercharged atmosphere allowed insects to grow to truly monstrous sizes. One of the most iconic and terrifying insects of this time was Meganeura, often called the giant dragonfly. But calling Meganeura a dragonfly is like calling a tiger an oversized house cat. This beast had a wingspan of up to 65 centimeters. That's over 2 feet. Imagine a dragonfly, the size of a large seagull, zooming around your head. Meganeura wasn't just big. It was a fearsome predator, likely capable of taking down small amphibians and other large insects. But Meganeura wasn't alone in the Carboniferous skies. There was also Mesothyros, another giant insect that resembled a modern mayfly, but with a wingspan of up to 55 centimeters. These massive insects would have been the fighter jets of their time, dominating the air and striking fear into anything smaller than themselves. Meet Arthropleura, quite possibly the largest land-dwelling invertebrate of all time. This millipede-like creature could grow up to 2.6 meters long, that's almost 9 feet. Imagine a millipede the length of a small car, as wide as a car tire, and weighing as much as a grown man. Arthropleura would have been an intimidating sight, crawling through the Carboniferous forests, its many legs moving in perfect synchronization. While Arthropleura was likely herbivorous, feeding on the abundant plant life of its time, its sheer size would have made it a formidable presence. Any predator would have thought twice before taking on this armored giant. But not all the giant insects of prehistory were confined to the Carboniferous. As we move into the Permian period, about 290 million years ago, we encounter one of the most terrifying insects ever to have existed, Pulmonoscorpius. This was a scorpion that grew up to 70 centimeters long. That's almost 28 inches. To put that in perspective, the largest modern scorpions barely reach 20 centimeters. Pulmonoscorpius wasn't just big, it was built to kill. Like modern scorpions, it had powerful pincers and a venomous stinger. But given its size, the venom of Pulmonoscorpius would have been far more potent than anything we see in modern scorpions. This was a predator capable of taking down prey much larger than itself. Now, I know what you're thinking, surely these giant insects couldn't have survived beyond the Paleozoic era? Well, hold on to your hats, because the reign of giant insects didn't end with the Permian extinction. In fact, some of the most terrifying insects ever to exist came much later. Fast forward to the Cretaceous period, about 100 million years ago. This was the age of the dinosaurs, but it was also home to some truly nightmarish insects. One of these was Meganeuropsis, a griffinfly related to modern dragonflies that puts even Meganeura to shame. Meganeuropsis had a wingspan of up to 71 centimeters. That's nearly 28 inches. This makes it the largest known insect of all time. Imagine a dragonfly the size of an eagle, with enormous compound eyes and razor-sharp mandibles, swooping down from the skies. Meganeuropsis would have been an apex predator in its own right, capable of taking down not just other insects, but small vertebrates as well. It also saw the evolution of some of the largest ants ever to exist. Titanomyrma, discovered in fossil deposits from Germany and Wyoming, was an ant that grew up to 3 centimeters long. That's about 10 times the size of a modern carpenter ant. Now, 3 centimeters might not sound that big, but remember, we're talking about ants here. A colony of Titanomyrma would have been a force to be reckoned with. These weren't just oversized ants. They were robust, heavily armored insects with powerful mandibles. A swarm of Titanomyrma could have taken down prey many times their size. But perhaps the most terrifying insect of the Cretaceous was Mongolomaceus, a wasp so large it beggars belief. This monster grew up to 8 centimeters long, that's over 3 inches. To put that in perspective, the largest modern wasp, the Asian giant hornet, maxes out at about 5 centimeters. Mongolomaceus wasn't just big, it was built for killing. Like modern wasps, it would have had a powerful sting, but given its size, the venom would have been far more potent. This was a predator that could have taken down prey as large as small dinosaurs. Now you might be wondering, if these insects were so successful, why aren't they around today? Well, the answer lies in a combination of factors, primarily changes in the Earth's atmosphere, and the evolution of more effective predators. Remember how we mentioned that the Carboniferous period had much higher oxygen levels? This was key to the evolution of giant insects. Insects breathe through a system of tubes called tracheae, which deliver oxygen directly to their tissues. This system works well for small creatures, but it becomes less efficient as size increases. The high oxygen levels of the Carboniferous allowed insects to grow much larger while still getting enough oxygen. As oxygen levels decreased over time, it became harder for insects to maintain such large sizes. Additionally, the evolution of flying reptiles and later birds provided new, more agile aerial predators that could effectively hunt even large flying insects. But don't think for a moment that the age of terrifying insects ended with these giants. Evolution has a way of creating nightmares in all shapes and sizes. Take, for example, the Rhyniognatha, a proto-insect from the early Devonian period, about 400 million years ago. While not particularly large, Rhyniognatha is noteworthy for having what might be the earliest known mandibles. These jaws were disproportionately large and powerful, suggesting that Rhyniognatha was a fearsome predator for its time. Or consider the Helicoprion, a bizarre whorl-toothed shark from the Permian period. While not an insect, this creature showcases the kind of nightmarish predators that shared the world with their giant insects. Helicoprion had a lower jaw lined with a spiral of serrated teeth, like a biological chainsaw. Imagine a sea filled with these creatures, while the air above teemed with giant dragonflies and the land crawled with car-sized millipedes. It's also worth noting that not all prehistoric insects were giants. Many were similar in size to modern insects, but no less terrifying. The Cretaceous period, for instance, saw an explosion of social insects, like ants and termites. While individual workers might have been small, their colonies could have numbered in the millions, creating superorganisms capable of dramatically shaping their environments. And let's not forget about prehistoric arachnids. While not technically insects, these arthropods were every bit as terrifying. Take Brontoscorpio, a sea scorpion from the Silurian period that grew up to a meter long. Or Megarachne, once thought to be a giant spider but now classified as a sea scorpion, which could reach up to 50 centimeters in length. Even in more recent prehistoric times, insects continued to be formidable creatures. The Pleistocene epoch, which ended just 11,700 years ago, was home to insects that would still be considered giants by today's standards. The Megaloptera of this time, ancestors of modern Dobson flies and fish flies, had wingspans of up to 20 centimeters. While not as large as their Carboniferous ancestors, these were still insects big enough to give most people nightmares. So the next time you swat at a fly or squish a spider, remember, you're dealing with the diminutive descendants of creatures that once ruled the earth. Insects have been around for over 400 million years, and for much of that time, they were the dominant form of animal life on the planet. They've survived multiple mass extinctions and adapted to every environment the earth has thrown at them. While we might not have car-sized millipedes or eagle-sized dragonflies today, insects are still a dominant force in our world. They outnumber us, outweigh us, and in many ways outperform us. Modern insects might be smaller than their prehistoric ancestors, but they're no less impressive or important to our ecosystems. From the giant dragonflies of the Carboniferous to the massive wasps of the Cretaceous, prehistoric insects were creatures of nightmares, apex predators in a world very different from our own. They were big, they were numerous, and they were absolutely terrifying, but they were also incredible, showcasing the amazing adaptability of life on Earth and the stunning diversity that evolution can produce.